Gotta catch them all, or should I say now, train on? No, I'm not going to. Gotta catch them all has been the tagline of Pokemon for 20 years, and even today, I haven't caught all of them legitimately. But this got me thinking clearly. Some Pokemon are designed to be rarer than others, and no, I'm not talking about legendaries or event Pokemon that you're granted to be able to catch in a certain time or place. I'm talking about those devious critters who none of your friends seem to be able to trade you. Speaking of friends, to help me fork out who is the rarest is a Poketuber friend of mine, BirdkeeperToby.
Hey Pokemon Masters, how's it going, Mystic? And of course, once we're done researching the hardest Pokemon to capture, we should probably look into the device that allows you to capture them, the Pokeball. But enough of that for now. For now, I choose you!
So to start things off, some Pokemon are rarer to find than others, and the opposite can be said about Pokemon that are easier to find. A lot of Pokemon throughout the Pokemon world have the description of area unknown in their Pokedex entries, but it's not like they are impossible to find. They can usually be found in other games and can be traded over. Legendary Pokemon can be hard to find as well, but most legendary Pokemon can be caught in set locations where the player knows where they will be, excluding the event ones of course. Some of these event Pokemon though are fairly obtainable though, through game codes and the power of Mystery Gift. These Pokemon can be difficult to get, however, we are discussing Pokemon that are hard to find within the actual games themselves. And that's where we find our first Pokemon that fits this description of hardest to catch. One of those Pokemon is Hitmontop.
Hitmontop is almost a guaranteed capture in the game Pokemon Colosseum, so if you still have a working GameCube and Game Boy Advance and GameCube to Game Boy Advance link cable after over a decade, then congratulations, you have a chance of getting Hitmontop on your team. Other than that, try catching it in the wild, and you can't, because it can't be found anywhere. If you do go for Pokemon Colosseum as well, you're going to have to purify the Shadow form, and then transfer it onto your DS using the PAL Park, and then using the minigame in black and white, and then using the transfer system to get it onto Pokemon Bank. But then it'll be in your main series game. Your best option for getting your Hitmontop is by breeding and evolving a Tyrogue, which is great and all, except even Tyrogue is only available in very limited quantities. In Generation 3, you can only get Tyrogue via breeding a Hitmontop, Hitmonchan, or Hitmonlee. In Gen 4, you're looking at routes 208, 211, the Poké Radar, or a gift at Mount Mortar. In Gen 5, only as a Swarm or in the Dream World, and Route 10 in Gen 6. Of course, you could breed him from a Hitmonchan or Hitmonlee, which you can get in the Generation 3 Fire Red and Leaf Green. But again, these games are approaching nearly a decade old. He's getting hard to come by. And once you've got a Tyrogue, evolving it is another huge hassle, because the only way to get him on top is to have its attack and defense stats perfectly balanced. To attack worthy, it's a Hitmonlee. If its defense is higher, it's a Hitmonchan. Perfectly balanced, that's where you get your Hitmontop. So while maybe not the hardest to catch in a one-on-one battle, it's certainly one of the hardest Pokemon to acquire. Good luck with that.
Not only does Hitmontop fit the category of hardest Pokemon to catch, Scyther does as well. Scyther is only obtainable by trading a Scyther holding a Metal Coat, and getting this specific Pokemon and item are two very tedious hassles. Scyther is one of the hardest Pokemon to capture in its own essence due to its capture rate and availability within the main series games. With Scyther being introduced in Generation 2 and Scyther actually being capturable in Generation 2 from the National Park, transferring from Generation 1 does not become a worry. Throughout Generation 3 though, Scyther is only obtainable through the Safari Zone and the Game Corner in Fire Red and Leaf Green. The Game Corner is a lot of coins, and the Safari Zone Scyther's encounter rate and capture rate are still very high, making it very difficult to obtain in this generation. Once Generation 4 was announced though, Scyther is obtainable in Pokemon Diamond on Route 29, Routes 210 and 215 in Platinum, and once again the bug catching contest in the remakes of Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Generation 5 it is unobtainable unless linked to the Dream World. Finally, in Generation 6, we have only one location being at Route 21 in Pokemon X and Y. Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire is trade only. Now we have the Metal Coat, which are very limited in the main series Pokemon games. Of course, there are Pokemon that hold them, but the odds of that happening are only 5 to 8%.
So let's sidetrack a little bit. We've talked about some of the hardest Pokemon to encounter, but what about the easiest? Just out of curiosity. Well, obviously you can choose one of the starter Pokemon at the beginning of every single game, so you could argue that these are the easiest Pokemon to catch, seeing as you're guaranteed whatever one you want. However, there are lots of Pokemon you're forced to encounter throughout the game, so I think we're going to discount these, and that makes the easiest Pokemon. Can you guess? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1... Yeah, you probably got it, it's Magikarp. Not only does Magikarp have the joint lowest catch rate as a whole bunch of other Pokemon, you can also receive it as a gift. It's available in the most places. And in order to get it, normally all you need is Surf, which is an HM you're guaranteed to find in the game, or an Old Rod, which is normally an item you get very early on. And Magikarp is found at pretty much every level, including level 100 in the wild. Many people would argue that Magikarp is a terrible Pokemon and that evolution has treated it badly and just made it this weak and terrible form. But then again, the fact that Magikarp is the most dominant Pokemon on the planet, I think it disagrees.
Spinda has the same exact catch rate as Magikarp, making it very easy to catch when seen in the wild. Spinda's locations are also fairly easy to access in the main series games and have a very high encounter rate. The only game that is slightly hard to get it in are the Generation 5 games. But what about trying to capture identical forms of Spinda? Each Spinda has a different design, and the different designs they can carry are endless. I don't care if you have patience. You aren't going to get an identical Spinda when you have a number like this. And this includes the shiny forms. 8,589,934,590. Yeah, that's a big number. All in all, it's not so clear who is the hardest and who is the easiest to catch. One thing's for sure though, you gotta catch them all.
And now over on my channel we're discussing the origins of the device that allows you to capture all Pokemon, the Pokeball, so make sure you join us over there for that. And of course, if there's any hard or easy Pokemon we missed, let us know in the comments.
As always though, I've been Mystic Umbreon, and I will see you in the future with more Pokemon content, and on Toby's channel.